Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
We
And,
absolutely are.
and today we have Barry Eaton with us. He went from broadcaster and MC to an author, astrologer, psychic, speaker, and so much more. So we're going to dig right in with him and we're going to just see where our conversation goes. So welcome, Barry. We're excited to have you on our podcast today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. Lovely to be here.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? It seems like you're a jack of all trades, and uh, tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, have you got 4 or 5 hours? Look, I started off as an actor in the theatre, went into radio and TV after that because not much work around at the time, a long time ago now, and I became a radio and TV presenter or anchor, as you call them in the States. And I did all sorts of programs from sport to news, current affairs. I did callback programs. And one of my callback programs, I started to invite guests on who were astrologers, numerology experts, a psychic, a lovely lady called Diana Shaw, not the old Diana Shaw, singer, actor, no. Uh, she wasn't in that vein. But one night on air, she said to me, you're going to be doing this yourself soon. I said, oh, come on. I'm working 7 days a week at the moment, 85 hours. I'm doing radio, TV. I'm also running a production company. And do you reckon I'm going to be doing this as well? She said, yes, you are. I said, oh, right. She was right. 6 months later, on the way, total transformation in life. So I do believe that, well, I do know now because I talk to so many people on the other side, that we do plan our life beforehand, or certain aspects of it. It's not all destiny, it's not all fate, but there are certain key points. When we're working on a film script, for instance, there's what we call plot points. And each plot point is carefully inserted, and then the character develops from there. So with our life, we have plot points, or destiny points, if you like, and whatever we do then decides what we're going to do next. We open the way. So we have a combination of prearranged stuff and then our free will. So that's what life's all about. So I found that one out fairly early in the piece. So I've only got myself to blame now, haven't I?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I always like to tell my children that. Well, you picked me, so there's that.
That is true. That is true. We do agree to whoever we're going to be born to.
I did just hear a new sort of spin on that, though. So, was that we do pick our parents or our life path that we're going to lead, but that we actually maybe there is some choices. Like I didn't realize that there could be, these are maybe some different parents, and if they don't end up as a parent per se, perhaps they still have a very influential part in your life. Is that true? Or could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so everybody's life is different. We are all unique. So every story is different. Like in the movies, every time you go, hopefully you see something different. And we work with our guides beforehand and also other elders in the world of spirit to work out what we need to do in our next lifetime. Because life is all about the evolution of the soul. It's not about coming down here and just having a wander around for a while and have a bit of fun and go off somewhere else. No, we are evolving. We are energy, pure energy existing in a human form. Our body, we're not our body. Our body is just a vehicle for the soul. Soul is energy, pure energy. Call it consciousness, call it soul, many different terms. But that soul is part of the great soul we call God, source, whatever. And that's why there was always that saying, we are in the image of God. But we're not the image of somebody, an old man in a chair with a long white beard. So we're not bit of that. No, it's all about energy. And God, the creator, the universe, all energy. We are just a tiny, tiny, tiny little drop in a vast ocean of energy. Now, I've shown all that in meditations, actually, when I did do some research. And that makes a lot of sense to me, that we are there. But as a drop, we have various ways that we can go. We are helped, and it's our choice because life is about going from one lifetime to the other to evolve into a state where we don't have to come back to Earth. We can move on. Earth is just one in a stage of many, many existences throughout the universe. I hope
Right.
I'm not going too deeply already, am I?
No,
No.
I still believe that. I've been believing that for years. That's exactly that, that we are energy. And well said. Thank you.
Well, I was on the image, and I wrote this in my first book, Afterlife. And as an actor, what you do is you train, you get cast in a role because you're suitable for that role. You then go to rehearsals, you do your performances. At the end of each performance, or the end of each season, I should say, you then go home, take the makeup off, take the costume off, go home and wait for your agent to find you another job. So then you move on to the next one. Now, the more experience you have, the better you become at it, the different role you play. So I use that as an analogy. And to me, that fits because life is like that. Our body is our costume, and we are our soul. Using that body, we are taking on, like an actor, the role that we're going to play in this and every other lifetime. So it's the way we perform as to whether or not we can get any more work. So if you take it down to that basic analysis, if you want to keep on getting more work, fair enough. If you want to say, I'm going to do this absolutely brilliantly so I can retire, don't have to come back here, well, that's all part of the plan as well. But everybody is different. That's what it's all about.
So how do we know then as a human, is there a way for us to know if this is our last life, if we've evolved to that spot?
Well, there is. You have to open up your whole area of spiritual life, though. And we don't always know that because we're so busy enjoying life. But we're here to make mistakes, to learn, to grow. And some of us will get to that stage where we've done everything. Now, if we are in constant communication with our guide and people on the other side, whether it's directly or via mediums or whatever, we can get that sense. And also, people will often feel deep down, this is my last lifetime. I want to make sure, but it will depend. As I said, everybody is different. We don't know. We don't come in with a contract saying, okay, this is your final performance. Better make the most of it. It doesn't happen like that.
And we
Everybody,
likely forget it when we came Earthside, correct?
of course. That's what happens. When we're born, the veil drops. Otherwise, we'd remember all our past lives. Now, in my last book I wrote called Past Lives Unveiled, uh, I explained why that is. Because can you imagine, say, going to a dinner party and then all of a sudden a whole lot of guests turn up and you
No,
killed me in a past life. You ran away from me. You did this. Oh, you were the person who ruined my entire life. What a wonderful dinner party that would be.
yeah,
So we can't understand and know what exactly went on in all our past lives. That would be an absolute disaster. So the veil drops. So we can live this life, but we can access that. We learn from the past. That's why I've written my book about past lives. So many other people have as well. And I've also had a lot of past life regressions, some wonderful stories. So I even learned how to be a past life regressionist and help people understand just what it is we're here to learn about this time. Whether we learn, whether we graduate, well, that's up to us.
it's true. I was told once by someone that did past life for me. He told me that I was a man in so many different lifetimes, and that's why I enjoy being a woman so much in this one. And it's interesting because since he told me that, there's times where I go, yeah, I really do. I connect. I feel it. Yeah, I'm so glad that I am here as a woman.
Well, when you go into it, I mean, we all have lives, multiple lives, both
Yeah,
sides. I mean, as I said, it's just a body, all right? We
right.
can't turn around and change it because that's what we've been allocated was to work with in this lifetime. Now, I'm not going to go into gender disparity here, but the body is our vehicle. How we treat our vehicle is also part of why we're here. So it's very hard.
Very
So
cool.
you mentioned destiny points. So is
Hmm.
that is that similar to like a deja vu, or is there something in particular that happens at these destiny points to sort of let us know that we're going along the path that we've sort of contracted out for ourselves before we've come to this earth?
Not always.
Good question.
Because, as I said, it's like a plot point in a film or a stage play or a book. There's always these plot points where the hero or the heroine has to make up their mind. Do I go in this direction or that direction? Or do I go in no direction at all? And whatever choice you make, that determines your path from then on. So everybody's destiny is different. But it's not as if we are issued with the whole list before we're born. Okay, take the list with you and bury it in your subconscious. Yes, we do know certain things are very important. Now, I know that I had that real transformation point, and it was a spiritual awakening. It was triggered by a divorce. Well, divorces trigger all sorts of things, don't they? Anyway, that happened. I was also working, as I said, 85 hours a week. I was very unhappy. Probably that's why I was working 85 hours a week. But when it all opened, that was not only an awakening, but it was a total transformation. Now, I could have said, I'm not going to go down that path. I don't want to become a bloody psychic. What do I want to do that for? But no, I didn't. I just accepted it because I knew somewhere deep inside that that was the right thing to do. And then all of a sudden, without knowing why, I spoke to a guy who was on my program who was an astrologer. And I said to him, Gary, I'm going to do your astrology course next year. He said, what? I said, yeah. He said, why? He said, I thought you were just a radio and TV bloke. I said, I don't know why, but I know I'm going to. And that decision made from an intuitive feeling or knowing, that changed my whole life. From then on, I moved in a totally different direction. That didn't mean to say I left broadcasting. No, not at all. I went on to do all sorts of things. I also worked in the theatre. I do MC work. I give talks. I've written. I was a producer on TV and director of video productions, all sorts of things. The actual producer. Done all those things, but I've combined it with all my work in the spiritual area, and that has influenced everything I've done. So I have brought two different worlds to conjoin, if you like, and they are melded. And so my total character changed. Now, I'm not saying everybody does that, but that is how we can accept. Other times we'll think, is that the right thing to do? Oh, no, I can't do that. That's your choice. That is why it is intuitive. But don't jump into things. It's best to take a little bit of time, think, maybe meditate. If you don't meditate, go somewhere quiet, go for a walk on the beach or out in nature. Just think about it. Don't rush.
Yeah, I love meditating. I meditate every morning, and um, it's interesting right now. I'm reading Rebecca Campbell's Light is the New Black, and it's all about your calling and all about, listening to these signs showing up. And so I find it
Yeah.
very interesting because while I'm listening, I'm paying attention to just some different things that I've noticed either, when you're surfing the internet or when you're quiet in meditation. And it's like, okay, is this my direction that I'm supposed to be going down? And is it leading there? So, yeah, that's still up for debate. We'll see where it
Well,
goes.
that's the only way to do it because um, when we meditate, we are closing ourselves off, we are de-stressing, take the stress off your shoulders, relax. Let the cares of the world go deep. Now, this is also, I often have people say, well, how do I contact my spirit guide? Well, you can't do it while you're rushing around doing mad things. Do it in quiet time. Take that quiet time. Doesn't have to be sitting in a toilet going, or something like that. You can go for a walk. Go out in nature. That's always what I'm doing. And just open yourself up. Open your mind. Open your heart, because that was the one thing I learned very early in my research about the afterlife, and that is the soul connects with the body at the heart. So that's the soul into the heart and then right through the body. So that's why we have thoughts like body and soul. They go together. So if you open your mind, open your heart, and open everything and ask, always ask for help. Don't be afraid of it. I'm not talking about praying. I don't go to bed at night and saying, please, God, send me a new car tomorrow. Will you? The other one's praying up a bit. No. Forget that rubbish. I go to bed every night saying, at least 3 examples of what I'm grateful for in that day or generally in life. Open yourself up. Move away from the material aspects of life and open yourself up to spirit. And that's what it's about. I don't want to sound like I'm going to do a sermon here or something, but that's exactly how I've found it. And we should all do that because we are too materialistic in our society. Yeah, we have to pay the rent, we have to pay the bills and buy food and whatever, but there's still a nice balance, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And that is part of my practice as well. And I think you do yours more verbally, Mom, your grateful stuff. And I actually write, I like writing. So
Yeah.
I've always been someone that liked to journal and things like that. So I do a grateful journal every single night. And yeah.
Fantastic.
And and exactly what you said, not that I, occasionally like, ooh, somebody brought me coffee or something, but a lot of it is more about interactions with people and relationships and, messages that I've received or those kind of things to,
Mm.
yeah, not just the materialistic things that I'm grateful for, health things, and especially if somebody that I see is going through a health issue, it really does make me aware of what I have to be grateful for with my own health.
Mm. Mm. Well, that's very true because I find it so positive to go to sleep every night saying, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, I'm grateful for that help from my partner Anne or from whatever, or the contact I've had with somebody on the other side, or whatever. I'm going to bed with a clear mind. I'm not going to bed thinking, oh my God, how the hell am I going to pay the energy bill tomorrow? We've got to do that interview with those 2 women. Who are they, Kim? What the hell am I going to talk about? No, I go to bed saying, thank you for this, and thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity of talking to Kim and Barb tomorrow, and I look
Right.
forward to it.
Lovely.
So thanks.
Well, thank you for coming on because we're grateful for that as well. Because that's a wonderful thing about the podcast. And I think you can probably relate to that with having, done interviews and things like that, is meeting so many different people that have so many different ideas that for us opens up our minds to, maybe something we believe and opens it further, or something that we didn't know before. And then, you can just grow from that. So we both love, gaining that knowledge and meeting such interesting people.
Well,
We
that's the
sure
only
do.
way to do it, isn't it? Because, I mean, I started off doing showbiz interviews. I've interviewed some of the top actors and also back in the 70s and 80s. And I've progressed from that. I still have well-known people, but they're more likely people working in a spiritual area now or a helping area, people who are opening people's minds. So I had to learn all that stuff to be able to then move into this other area of life. So I learned a lot from those people who are well-known movie stars and people like that. So now I use that knowledge of humanity and whatever to be able to move in and help other people or work with other people who are spreading a totally different message. And I think that's the balance that we need. We don't get all out of balance like so many people are, unfortunately.
Yes. Do you think that with past lives and past life regression in particular, do you think that that is very beneficial to help us on this path where we're on?
Oh, do I ever? Oh, do I ever? I can tell you about some of my past lives, but I've learned a hell of a lot. And my immediate past life, for instance, I died in the trenches in World War I as a young British soldier. And I had several lives as a warrior before that. Now, in this life, no way. I'm totally against war, totally against anything like that. I've learned my lessons, been there, done all of that, and I want to go somewhere totally different. But other lives I've had, which I've talked about in the book Past Lives Unveiled, and also my other book, my second book was called No Goodbyes. And the past lives that we all experience, once we learn from them. Now, I went on, a friend of mine is a wonderful past life person. He was the former president, or is the former president of the Michael Newton Institute. Now, Michael Newton, as you probably know, wrote Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, and so on. Wonderful psychologist who did something like 8,500 past life regressions, helped so many different people. Now, Pete put me through a whole lot of past life work, and I've learned one heck of a lot about myself and also the message that I can put through. Now, one of them, I'm actually writing another book at the moment, but I quoted this particular lifetime, and I had a huge breakthrough the other day, and I haven't shared it with anybody. So would you like me to share it with you?
Yes.
We would
Yes.
love that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I thought I was going to go back because I've always been fascinated with ancient Egypt and whatever. I thought in this time, I thought I wouldn't mind going back there, but no. Instead, Pete took me back to a life where I was a very young philosopher graduate in Athens in ancient Greece, just before early BC. And to cut a long story short here, my name came to me, and names don't always come, but this one came through, and I've got this on recording, never heard of it before, and the name Tassos came through, Kasos. So Tassos talked about how he had to work with the Romans who were in occupation at the time. So I'd learned about Greek and Roman history at school, so I was very much into all of that. And there was a reason, I think, because I lived through there, so I learned about myself. Now, Tassos, then Pete, when he does a regression, he takes you right down into a soul connection. He connects with your soul as to what you can do. And I was writing the book at the time. So Pete said, what can you offer, or what can Barry offer the readers about this particular lifetime as a philosopher? You mind if I quote a little bit to you from the book?
Yes,
No,
please.
go ahead.
All right. So Pete said, help me understand the message that needs to be offered to humanity. And Tassos' answer was, humanity is like a diamond. It has many facets, but each one of those facets makes up the whole. Humanity is not one single facet, it is just part of a network, a tapestry. He said, what messages? Well, messages, we are all part of each facet. There's a little bit of us represented everywhere. We have no right to look down on another part of the world, another race, any other belief system. We're all part of this diamond, and we may all well have been an integral part of all those facets at some stage. Where we are at the moment is just one phase of our entire existence. Now, to me, that makes so much sense, what we were talking about before, one phase of one small facet. Now, why am I talking about Tassos here? I'll tell you why. Because I never bothered to check, but Tassos revealed that he was in Athens. His family had moved there. His ancestors lived on a small island near Crete. And I said, okay, fair enough. I missed out going to Crete. I was doing some travel writing back in the 80s and missed out on that for a strange reason. So I've always wanted to go there. So my partner Anne and I are going off later this year to Crete as part of an island trip around the Greek islands. And all of a sudden, my intuition said, hang on, Tarsos. This popped up out of the blue. This little segment just popped up online somewhere unexpectedly. So I thought, now why is that happening? So I thought, oh, going to Crete. I wonder what little island is there? Is there an island there? Because I don't know about all that. So I went in, got a map, zoomed right in. Here's Crete, which is sort of shaped like that. And up here, just off to the east, or to the south, or southeast, is an island Would you believe its name?
That's
It's
awesome.
Cassos. How
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
I had never heard the name. Please believe me, I had no idea where it was. I had no idea about that. So if a family emigrated and went to live in Greece, why wouldn't they name one of their sons from the island on which they lived? And the crops that my family were growing in Athens, a little farm outside Athens, were the same crops that are grown on Cassos.
Wow.
How
Wow.
about, how about that?
That's amazing.
Yeah, I
So
love that.
that brings me back to why do I say that? I'm not virtue signaling here. I'm not saying aren't I clever. I'm saying that was shown to me at this stage because we're going to create, because I could go back, have a look at that, and share that little bit with you, and also in the book I'm writing at the moment. We're all part of each facet. We can't look down on another part of the world, a race, or any other belief system. What are we doing at the moment? We are looking down on other belief systems. We are going against every principle, every principle. And by the way, I was in an academy at that time, which was an offshoot of the academies that Plato, famous philosopher, organized. And it was a long time after Plato's death, but Plato believed in reincarnation
Wow.
in the story.
Yeah.
So this has been, something that you were destined in some ways to do this,
Yep.
past life stuff and, look at these being resurrected and things like that. Like it's interesting to me how things from our past life just kind of flow forward into our new life, right? And it's, interesting. I did a past life regression one time, and in that life, I was someone that did a lot with herbs and did, that kind of stuff. And I was locked away and I was killed early. And so it was very interesting because in this life, at 25, I felt like my life was going to end and it was really important to be married and have children. And also, I am into the herbs and the oils and the things in this life. So I found it very interesting, the correlation between the two.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everything is correlated in some way. So we just have to find out how it affects us. That's
Right.
important. Mm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I find it just so interesting. So, is there a way that, like, just someone, if they want to do a past life regression, do they need to go to a past life
Oh, yeah.
regressionist, or is
Yeah.
there something that you can do on your own?
No, no, don't. Because how do you know the message is going to be there? Because a past life regression, and I've been trained in this, I've done quite a few for people, uh, we go very, very deep down inside, let everything go. It's, it's a form of hypnotism, but it's accessing part of your subconscious because everything is buried right down very, very deep. As I said before, when the past life veil drops down at the start of life, all those memories, they don't go out off somewhere to a library or somewhere. No, no, no. They go very deep inside of us. But they are there because our soul works with them at a very deep level. But if we want to access them in our conscious mind, then we have to have an expert. So don't try it on your own, but find somebody who is qualified because they're like psychics and astrologers and all. There's a lot of charlatans around. So make sure that they're pardon me, recommended or that they can provide proof or whatever. But yes, that's the only way as far as I'm concerned.
So people can look you up on the web on your website as well, and you can also do things by Zoom and things like that for them as far as past nights go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just send me an email. That's the best way. Radioouthere, gmail.com. So, but that's fine. I haven't been doing them for a little while, but I have done some recently, but I've just been having a break for a while over Christmas and whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I do astrology and medium stuff and whatever for people to help
Okay.
people out as well. Mm.
Good.
Because I don't want to say this is what you have to do. My thought is I like to be able to help people to help themselves. And that's the whole thing. You can open a portal. You can open, I can tell you about your life through astrology. I can connect with people for you on the other side, but I can't tell you what to do. People come in and say, and all decent psychics and people like myself do this. They say, oh, should I leave my partner, my husband, my wife? I'm not going to say, oh, yes, I would if I were you. Well, no, you can't. That's not my decision. I will help them into a position to help themselves by making that decision, whatever way is appropriate at the time. Same with past lives. It's up to
Totally
you.
agree. Yes,
Mm. Because,
I
as I
totally.
said, I wanted to go back to Egypt, but I ended up, my soul took me back to Greece because I had that message
Yeah.
that had to
Oh,
come out about that humanity and whatever. Mm. But there's lots of messages can come from the other side. Um, my partner, my late partner, Judy, passed over in 1997, and she was the one that urged me from the other side to write my books about the afterlife. And there's all sorts of things that I found out later that she forecast that I was going to do. I found notes that I'd buried away, and I only found them a year or so ago. So she was giving me all this information long before I even started to write. But one thing that she did, and I'll talk about this in my book, No Goodbyes, if you don't mind, because that was published back in 2014, and I was writing this in 2012, because it takes, as you probably know, about a year from the time you finish a book to the time it gets out to be published. It was published very early in 2014. So um, my contacts in the spirit world, this is Judy saying, warned, quote, of their grave concern that our increasing reliance on technology would lead to many problems in the future if not contained. The message went on to caution us about, quote, the big changes that are coming in the world are not going to be brought about by politicians because many people themselves will need to get down and dirty, go back to grassroots, and politicians don't work that way. That was a warning 12, 13 years ago. So what do we
well,
have now? AI, gone berserk, all
yes,
sorts of stories. They
yes,
warned back then, and I'm sure I was not the only one that that warning was put out through. So they do know what's going on in the spirit. They do know, and they do want to help us. They can't tell us what to do. Like I won't tell my clients what to do, but they will provide us with enough so that we can start thinking about it for ourselves. And that I only discovered that recently as I was writing my current book, and I thought, wow, they knew back in 2012 that we were going to go through all this technology explosion, and it's only going to get worse.
yes.
Up to us now.
Yep, yep, it is.
That's right. We always have that free will of how we're going to move forward with this
Yep.
different stuff, right? And,
Yeah. Very right.
some of it is a blessing because we can do things like this, like have interviews online and things like that. And some of it is definitely not a blessing. So,
Mm,
you
mm.
know, it's interesting how, if we listen to our guides and our people on the other side, how they do bring us these messages.
Yeah. Well, they are with us all the time. I mean, they're not there. We have a shower or something, but they are with us. Because I was on air one night. I researched my program by doing a community program for a little while to just get it into line because I was going to try and put it on mainstream radio here. Anyway, a very well-known medium came and we were talking about various things, and he said to me uh, afterwards, he said to me, "Oh, by the way, um, what do you know this woman?" And he described her. I said, yes. He said, he didn't know about it. And he said, she told me what you were doing today. She then described exactly what I was doing. That was my late partner, Judith Henshaw. So David
Wow.
was able to see her, talk with her, establish who she was and what she was doing. And that is a little proof every now and then that they are with us. They don't, they don't invade our privacy, but they are there to help us. So we can always talk to them. People say, oh, I lost my mother, I lost my partner, I lost my son or daughter. No, they're not lost. They're just in a different dimension of reality. Because that's what the afterlife is, just a different dimension.
Mhm.
Yes, that is very true.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, we've had lots of interactions, I think, with people that have passed over, and it's always interesting to me how they come to you rather, it's in your thoughts through songs, those kind of
Oh,
things.
yeah.
So, I had my mother-in-law came to me one time and touched my arm, but so we had a little conversation, her and I was like, please don't do that because that scares me. But there's other ways to tell me you're around, so that's not it.
That's
But
right.
I mean, they do these things because probably she was probably trying to get my attention and I wasn't listening, is what I suspect probably was the issue in that. Would you agree with that or?
Oh, well, there are many different reasons. Yes, to let you know I'm here, and also to maybe think, what were you thinking about at the time? Was it something you wanted to make a choice on? Or were you planning on doing something? She might have been there saying, hang on, have a think about what you want to do here. Is it the right thing or whatever? So there are many, many different things why they would touch you on the arm or just be there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just to say, okay, you're feeling a bit down, a bit stressed. Don't worry, I'm here. Just
Mhm.
reassuring you.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. That was quite a long time ago, so I don't even know what I was thinking then, but
Oh, don't you? Oh, how surprising. I don't know what I was thinking about last night. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I went to see Wicked last night. Have you seen that wonderful movie?
No, no, I
Oh,
haven't seen that
fantastic.
one yet. That's something I do
Oh,
want to see though.
oh, it's up for an Oscar. I hope it gets it.
Is it?
Wonderful. Oh, good fun.
Was
Anyway, yeah,
fantastic. Perfect.
yeah.
Well, I think it's well, I've always been intrigued by that kind of thing anyway, so I think
Mm,
that, I will definitely be checking that one out.
yep, definitely.
Absolutely. My husband comes back to see me a lot, and he
Does
leaves
he?
me. He does, and usually when I'm moving too fast, he tells me to slow down. So I know, he's been gone a long time, but he's always around.
Yeah.
He's always around.
Look, people come to us in many different ways, and a lot of people think, well, hang on, I haven't had any contact at all, but have you dreamed about that person? That is the most common way that they contact us because at night, our soul leaves our body. The
Yeah.
soul, the spirit is the vehicle for the soul, by the way. The spirit with the soul leaves the body, doesn't need to go to sleep. Body needs to go to sleep. So the soul goes out there and meets up with people, guides, helpers, family, people on the other side, who don't always remember those particular meetings. But sometimes, have you ever woken up with a distinct solution to a problem? And you think, oh,
Yes.
I wonder where that came from. Well, that's because your soul went off, had a little chat with maybe your guide, could be a family member, or somebody who's going to help you. And you then come back. You don't remember it, but it's there. It's there. Then when you develop a bit, I get people contacting me in the middle of the night and waking me up with all sorts of messages. And I have to then get up and write the message down because it might be part of what I'm doing for my book. Or one night, a friend of mine who I used to work with passed over, and he contacted me and told me to contact his wife. And I said, come on, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to ring your wife. So I said, all right, well, make sure you do. Wake up and then do it. I said, all right, okay. So I went back to sleep. About 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, I got woken up again. Hey, wake up, wake up. What? I was in a deep sleep. Go and ring. I won't tell you her name. Go and ring her. I said, oh, she won't. It's 7 in the morning. I know there's no such thing as time on your side, but come on. He said, she's on a farm. She runs a vineyard. He was an operator. He was a winemaker. And she'll be up. Don't worry. So, all right, anything to appease you. So I rang her, gave her this news. It was so appropriate, so important for her. I had no idea, I hadn't spoken to her for quite some time. Neither of us could believe what had happened. But sometimes that happens. That's what happens sometimes when you're a medium as well. People wake you up and want to share stuff. But I often get woken up. About 3 a.m., all the energy is very, very still. So quite often, if you wake up, all of a sudden you've had a dream or something, and you wake up and think, oh, what was all that about? If it's important, write it down, because that can be a form of contact with some information for you. Don't sort of think, oh, God, what was that all about? Oh, I just want to go back to sleep. No, no, don't. Take it as a message. It may not be a message, but if it is, do you want to miss it? Up
Right.
to you.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to miss it.
No, I dream journal also, so so I get a lot of messages in my sleep. But it was interesting when you said that because Mom had a partner at one point, and he had a stroke
Yeah.
and died on the table. And he came to me to say goodbye and woke me up at some ungodly hour, like, 2, I think, or 3, or whatever it was in the morning. And he's like, I just came to say goodbye to you. And I'm like, get back in your body. What are you doing? Like, why? And he did end up surviving it and coming back. So it was really interesting because when Mom and I, because we were in 2 separate places. So I'm like, she phoned me the next day and she says, he died on the table. And but I'm like, what time? I tell you this, he was here.
Yeah, yeah. I know the feeling. I had the same thing in contact. I was working in Vienna at the time on doing some radio work over there, and my father had passed. I didn't know at the time until I rang my brother. Uh, this was a time when it was very hard to get a lot of international calls, and my father appeared to me. I was in church at the time. Now, I'm not a church-going person, but I wanted to go somewhere very quiet, and all of a sudden my father appeared. And I looked up, and there he was. And I tried to get up and go and join him, and he disappeared. But when I spoke to my brother, it was just after he passed away in Sydney, Australia. And I was in Europe. So
Wow.
I knew it was him. There's nowhere he could go. But as I stood up, it was just in front, I stood up to go and join him, and he's gone. But it was him. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
So
it's
do.
they
such
did.
a weird feeling. Like when I first woke up, I was like, maybe I dreamt that. Maybe that was,
That's right.
because that wasn't my thing. And then when I talked to Mom, she's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, it was a thing.
Mm. So
Right?
did he contact you after that, in a dream state, maybe weeks, months later? Did you dream about him one night?
I didn't. Well, he didn't, he came back to life. So he just
Right.
died temporarily on the table. So
Oh, I see. So
yeah,
he
and then
came
came
back.
back. Like he was just coming to say goodbye as
Mhm.
he was doing his thing, and then he actually ended up living. But
Mm,
yeah, it was kind of surprised me really because then it really told me, oh, like, especially now that I've learned so much more since that's happened, that was quite a long time ago, probably
mm,
20 years ago now, is, had I wish going back, I could have opened myself up then and know more about that because I think, you know, I would have had
mm.
better contact with the other
Yeah.
side.
Well, it sounds to me like your father may well have been having a near-death experience because that's what happens. They call them an NDE. And people have NDEs. Lots and lots of people do. Doctors, nurses see it all the time. They go, they leave the body. Sometimes they can leave the body for quite some time, but then they come back again and they've had an amazing experience. So it sounds to me as if your father could have had a near-death experience, and he was off there, and that was part of the experience, visiting you. Do I want to come back to my body? Ah, there's my lovely daughter. Ah, better go back. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
So, is your father still with us, or did he pass?
well, my father is. This was just one of my mom's partners
Oh,
at
okay.
the time. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
but we were close. So, I mean, it
Yeah,
does definitely make sense because he did think of me as a daughter.
as a
So,
daughter.
yes.
Right. So
But
he has passed away since
Yes.
that.
Yeah. He
Okay.
has now passed into another world. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Did he come and contact you after that, or not?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
So
No.
yeah, so interesting. But I maybe because there was that separation then at that point, and yeah, I didn't have a lot of contact with them after they separated. So
Mm,
maybe
mm.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
I I always find it interesting, and I just it's something that I would like to be open to. So I always
Mm,
it intrigues me when I talk to other like to mediums like yourself, and to how do you do that? How do
mm.
right? Maybe I was in a past life. Maybe that's something I need to do is look, right? Like, is that something that you could pull from your past life into this life, or could it just be a random thing?
Look, who knows? As I said, everything is a unique experience. So I don't believe it. Anything is impossible spiritually.
True.
I've always thought everything happens for a reason.
I
Everything
believe
in
that too.
life. Mm.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know,
So how many times have you missed out on something? Oh, I didn't get that job. Damn. A few weeks later, something better comes along.
yes. Or thank
Oh, I
God.
didn't marry that person. 6 years later, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't.
Wow, that's
Whatever.
smart.
Just, just a couple of random examples there.
It's well, it's so true, right? And yes, we both definitely believe that, yeah, there's things do happen for a reason. Sometimes we never know that reason, but you know, regardless, there's
Mm.
there's there's something that's being orchestrated for us or
Oh,
with
all the
us
time.
or
Mm.
yeah. So I think
But
that's
they do that on the other side, though. I mean, my late partner I talked about before, Judy, when she went over, I was running a spiritual development group at the time, and she used to come in and give me messages for the various members of the group, and it was fantastic. After that, when she started urging me to write a book, urging the whole time, and so much so that one night or one day I was interviewing a well-known medium in Canada actually on my program, and uh, and he said to me, "Hey Barry, do you know somebody called Judy?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, um, she has a message for you." I said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, "When are you going to write that book, Barry?"
Right, yeah.
I'll write the book. Okay. And that
and
turned out to be a
now
bestseller. And that was
4 books
Afterlife.
later.
Turned out to be a bestseller. So Judy is my agent on the other side.
Nice.
That's
Oh, she's
amazing.
Yeah, but she has moved on now because there are many levels on the other side. It's not just all one great big vast meadow somewhere or big field or countryside or mountain or something. There's lots and lots of different levels, and we go there according to the development of our soul. Now, Judy and I were in contact for quite some time, but she's now moved on. She's moved, I asked my guide, she's moved into another level now where she doesn't need, she's not coming back, she doesn't need to contact people on Earth, so she doesn't. So that was it. We had our time together. She's helped me. I helped her when she was here, and time to move on. That's
Yeah.
life, both on this side and on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe that too. I believe that.
Mm.
So if you had a final word for our followers, what would it be, or thought?
Do I have any thoughts? Oh, all the time. My mind is a buzz. If you were
Uh-huh.
into astrology, I'll tell you, I have 4 planets in the sign of Gemini. That's all about writing, talking, communication. So one's bad enough, but when you have 4 of them, I mean, I never shut up. So no, that's not true. But I do have lots of thoughts all the time. And I would like to think um, that I'm spreading my message. I believe that I was put here for a reason to help spread the word in many different ways. I started off spreading it on mainstream radio, TV, film, whatever, and now I spread the word in a different way. And that word, I think, is that we all need to start to move away from the whole aspect of pure materialism, self-aggrandizement, and we need to be more community-minded, less divisive, and thinking about our place everywhere. I won't talk about religion or anything like that because I'm a spiritual person. I believe that religion is man-made. Spiritual comes from the source. Call it God, call it whatever you like. But that is there. But we all need something more than pure materialism. And if we don't, we're going to be stuck with conflict. We're going to be stuck with control measures. We all saw the control measures all through the pandemic. They will keep on doing it unless we combine more, open our minds, open our hearts, and look for other things in life rather than just what we've been told to look for. Just a thought.
I like
Nice,
that
very
thought.
well said.
I love that thought. So
Yep.
you tell us a little bit, like where people can find you, and if you have anything. I know you said you had a convention coming up this year that you were participating in, and
Yeah.
where they can find your books, that kind of stuff.
Yes, there is, well, my website is radio out there, 3 words, but all joined together, radio out there, 2 O's, 2 T's.com. So you can go there, hear my program, there's my bios there and access to my books. Books are all still available and they're out there, just Google them, it's the easiest way. They're online, they're all there. Um, the conference we're doing this year is a convention called the Afterlife Summit, and it is going to be held in Sydney on June 28, 29. I am emceeing on one day, and I'm giving a talk on the afterlife on the second day. So I MC on the Saturday and talk about the afterlife on the Sunday. So there we are. That is coming up in Sydney, but I I think it's just called afterlifesummit.com. I don't have the um, but if you do Afterlife Summit, Sydney, June 2025, for those people who might be here or want to find out more about it, um, that's about it. But contact me, yes. You can do that through radioouthere@gmail.com. It's
Perfect.
simple.
Well,
Right?
thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a pleasure. It was
Lots,
learned so much, and you always
lots of
love to talk to people about that kind of stuff.
lots
Oh,
of
it's
information.
lovely.
Yeah, lots of
It's
information
lovely to
about
have a
it.
chat because somebody sent me the other day, they said, will you come on our program? I said, yeah, I'd love to. They sent me a list of questions. I said, I don't work like that. I don't. You ask one question, I mean, it doesn't lead to another one. What we did was wonderful. We had a chat. We talked about things. We opened up. That's the way I like to do things.
Right.
You
Oh, it's been
ladies
a
are
pleasure.
wonderful, by the way. Wonderful to work with. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank
thank you. We really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully you'll come back some other time because it
Sure,
sounds like
love
you
to.
have so much to tell us that we would love to share that with everyone. So
Yeah, we sure would.
Okay. Thank you very much for the
perfect.
invitation. Okay.
Nice to meet
And
you.
and
Wonderful.
everybody else, tune in next time.
Yes, you better.